This podcast is part of the Frederick Podcast Network. Learn more at listenfrederick.com.
Hey everybody, it's episode 114 of Beers in the Lot. This episode was recorded live from Studio 1A of Beers in the Lot's Frederick Studio Complex, also known as Eric's Basement. But before we get into the episode, I just want to remind you that we've got merchandise for sale at beersinthelot.com/shop. Go check it out. There's t-shirts, hoodies, have a look. John was wearing his Beers in the Lot t-shirt as we recorded and talked about the start of the NHL season, touched on the Arizona Coyotes a little bit, and opined on Sonny Milano and his place in the league. So let's go. Let's crack the beers.
Ooh.
Make sure it doesn't explode on me.
Aaron had to do a rip, not a crack.
Rip. High fidelity cracks.
In-person cracks.
Riggs, what are you drinking?
So, Jonathan, since we are still in sober October, I have an Athletic Brewing Upside Down. Not dawn, like the sun coming up, but I wanted to say it like a Yinzer.
Yeah.
Upside down.
Upside down.
Golden Ale. NA. Athletic Brew.
Yeah, big NA guys right
Yeah.
now.
So my sober October brother, Johnny, has.
I'm still murdering thirst left and right, so I'm drinking a La Croix coconut. La Croix. Yeah.
Can we go out on November 1st with you guys?
Sure.
What is that, a Tuesday?
It doesn't matter.
I got practice. I got a coach.
You can go after practice.
You know what Allen Iverson said about practice. So, whatever. Danny, what are you drinking?
I have a Devil's Backbone Vienna Lager.
Oh, yeah.
Getting into lager season, so.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Aaron, what did you rip off there?
My rocket ship rip was on a Coors Light. Mountains are blue. What about you, Ross? What you got?
I've got a Treehouse Sap.
Oh, Treehouse.
Thanks to
Treehouse
Daniel.
representing.
Thanks to Daniel.
Ross, our infield correspondent.
I've been out in the field for quite some time now.
Yeah,
He's back to report.
he's back to report.
It's rough out there.
I was actually saying stuff because unfortunately, the hurricane was going up the East Coast. I was like, I wonder if Ross is out in the field, just standing in a weather storm somewhere. It's like, it's very rough out here.
Those
Is there any
little
hockey
devices.
report? Yeah.
You guys send me on location.
We just send you to natural disasters.
Like, wait a minute, why are we doing weather reports now?
Yeah.
It's a 15 segment. Second segment.
You film for 19 hours to get 35 seconds on air.
Like a wildlife reporter, too.
I said it was going to be like David Attenborough, but it's nothing like this. It's so bad. So everybody enjoying the start to the NHL season?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I think most of us are, yeah.
Except for today.
Except for today.
Except for
when
today,
there's
'cause
no
there's
games.
Way to go, NHL.
As we record on Sunday before OFBG.
Actually, with the start of the season, I would like to...
Oh, he's pulling out notes.
I have notes that I took through the first couple of days. I'd just like to go through it really quickly.
Wow.
Ricard Raquel of Pittsburgh.
This is
Greer
a little
of
black
Boston.
book of hit list.
Mason Marchment of Dallas.
You're just naming people?
Oli Mata and Michael Rafferson of Detroit. Kyle Connor of Winnipeg. Adam Larson of Seattle. Matthew Tkachuk of Florida. Morgan Frost of Philly.
This sounds like a list of
Connor
players
McDomer
who
of
made
Edmonton.
sure-
Hold on. Connor McDomer of Edmonton. Hampus Lindholm of Boston. Matt Duchene of Nashville.
Yeah, we get it.
Public
now.
enemy number one, Victor Olofsson, twice times. All empty net goal scorers early in the start of the NHL season. Boston and Detroit,
These
I would like
sound
to say.
players who've solidified their team's victories.
Boston and Detroit, both with 2, leading the race to being scumbags. These men should be put on waivers immediately. I have the notes. I have the documents right. I got a stack full of documents right here. These guys are scumbags.
You have a dossier?
Dossier. I have a dossier. Yeah. It's like that scene from Boondock Saints. Like, I have a dossier of all these people back in my office. Yeah.
Are you going to update this list throughout the season?
That's my plan. I'm going to do it weekly. So, yeah. Yeah, I heard you guys.
That's getting edited.
I heard you guys. No, it is not. I heard you guys last week. Like, oh, it's so exciting. Like, the NHL season was John was here. While I was moving, boxes of shit. Also checking score sheets every night as well to, like, see who the scumbags were.
Do you have notes on who's winning in fantasy so far? Or team
I
fantasy?
know up to Friday it was me and Vegas and New York both won again, so I believe that's 11 for me off the top of my head.
It's you and Daniel in the lead.
Yeah, I think.
Somebody's got 11, somebody's got 13. Me and Riggs are bringing up the rear. We can't win games.
I didn't even look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah. Right now. This is great. Philly, big shocker thus far, I would say. Them in general.
Oh, how so?
Just, they're playing well.
Yeah.
They're doing decent.
Yeah, it's like the
Are
first,
they?
It's very early.
It's like the first week.
Well, exactly. So I think like in the next 3 weeks, we'll figure it out. Like the penalty kill for all teams sucks. It's horrible. Some of the power plays still suck too, but no team like so far has like really floored me.
Why did Torts say that there are no redeeming qualities about his own team?
I think he's trying to light a fire under their ass.
Maybe.
Or maybe he really just doesn't like being in Philly. He just likes money.
He just likes money.
Trying to get fired as quickly as possible.
Well, when he was like an assistant coach in Buffalo, he almost got like killed by a guy in Philly. Like he was there, some fan was yelling at him. He turned, and I guess the stanchion in the glass at that point, you could reach through. He got so close, somebody grabbed his necktie and was like yanking it through the glass. So the trainer came over and like cut the tie really quick.
Holy crap.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, so the time he was trying to fight fans in Washington during the playoffs wasn't the first time he had a run-in with fans?
No, it was not. No, it was not. I kind of like Torts though for that. Like, maybe we should go when he's in town and get in his ass or something. Like, just yell at him.
I hated him, and then I saw like some special on him or something. He's a great guy off the ice, and I'm really sad and mad that I saw that because like I don't hate him as much anymore.
I think he's terrible for players, but that's just me.
I tend to agree.
I mean,
There's
especially
a balance.
especially when you're saying stuff like that
Yeah.
in public about your own team. Like, it's one thing if you're on the players in your office behind closed doors and in the room behind closed doors, but when you're doing that, in front of the media and publicly like that, I don't think that's right. So,
Yeah, I agree with you there.
and I think it would turn players off, and they're not going to want to go wherever he's at.
Right. I sure wouldn't. I wouldn't want to play for him. Like if I have offers in front of me and one of the teams is getting coached by Torts, then no.
What if
I'll
you're
take a few bucks less even to go somewhere else probably.
Yeah.
like a college arena?
Yeah, exactly. I might play at a college arena before playing for Torts.
Just saying. Yeah, and also like they don't have a home game until like mid-November, I think. First
Why?
couple of weeks.
Because ASU is
Because
using it.
ASU's
Because
playing.
ASU is ASU actually owns the building they're playing in. So,
It's never going to get old.
No, I was just thinking that. I'm like,
Well, you guys shared
when
the
is
clip
bagging
of,
on Arizona gonna get old?
Oh yeah, it'll never get old. Somebody shared the clip of who's it? Donor's son.
Shane Doan's son, who plays for ASU, who's actually an Arizona draft pick, scored the first goal in the home opener on Friday night for ASU. So
That's kind of
Nice.
cool.
if he actually ends up playing NHL games this year, he literally won't need to change lockers. Like,
well, no, he will, because I'm sure ASU kicks the Coyotes
Yeah,
out
you're right.
when they
Right,
need to
right.
use the room.
Yeah.
So
Pack your bags, scrubs.
I know someone was at, I think it was like Kipper and Bourne, their show. Kipper said like the players are not happy being there. And the big thing initially, like to start, was because they're such a young team, rebuilding, etc. Like they were actually reaching out to a lot of like AHL guys that are those fringe guys or college free agents. Like, hey, come here. You will 100% get a chance to play, because, they're not attracting a lot of free agents. And now you hear like the players aren't happy with the accommodations, and then also too, I guess, the arena situation. And we know what happened to the Islanders last year when they went on that massive road trip to start. They had like 19 games or something stupid to start the season because their arena wasn't done. The only thing that was annoying about that was their fan base. It's like, oh my God, are you kidding me? I'm like, well, your arena's not fucking done. Like, how's that?
Yeah.
How's that our fault? Like Arizona, well, you don't own your arena, so that's your fault. So like, I don't feel that bad for the 7 fans they have.
Oh man.
Ross, you're just shaking your head.
What's the history here?
I just hate Arizona. I want that team to move.
What was
so
the
bad.
one thing that made you say, you know what?
Between Shane Doan and like everything else? I don't like Shane Doan. That's the other thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
He would elbow people in the head, and then he would go on his sob story the next day. I don't know why I'm getting fined. It's so weird. You're a sack of shit. Stop elbowing people in the head. And I'm sick of everyone going, he's such a nice guy. Well, I don't know about that. Like, whatever. That team should have moved, I don't know, 3 days after it was relocated to Arizona. Like, I don't even know why it's there. Like, get the hell out of there. God.
They had some playoff success.
They did, and it was like Mike Smith, Shane Doan. That was when Dave Tippett was a coach too.
Yeah.
Like, they did. I think they went to like the semifinals a few times and maybe
Didn't
a
they
conference final.
Get to a conference final and
I
lose.
think a conference final. Actually, L.A.
Yeah.
The one L.A. Cup run, they got to the conference finals. So whatever. Glad they didn't go to a cup. Thank God. I mean, that would have been awkward for ASU. ASU's like, oh shit, they have a banner in here. We got to up the rent. Like that would have been awkward. But yeah.
What if they made some ridiculous run and they made it all the way to the Stanley Cup final? Like, how pissed would the NHL be that they wouldn't be able to sell, what is it, 5,000 tickets?
Yeah, that'd be nuts.
Well, see, so that's a
That
weird
would
thing.
be brutal.
Gary Bettman last year during the All-Star break had like a projection. So like, even though they're not having as many tickets, I guess the cost they're going to sell them at will make up for that. So
how
like,
can you sell them for more though? Is that what you're saying, that they're selling the tickets?
So
for
like an
more?
average NHL ticket price, like pens and caps, what is it, like $130, something like that? Like an average ticket cost, I think when you calculate it.
Oh, just for a regular
like
season
an average,
game?
like an average.
Yeah, it's over $100.
It's over $100. So I
Yeah.
think there, it's like, let's say it's like 185 or something. So it makes up
How?
that difference hypothetically. But
Not
it's also
if you
like,
don't
how can
sell
you
'em.
sell
well,
the
that's what I'm
ticket?
saying. If you don't, how are you going to have, you think some kid from ASU is going to spend $185?
No way.
You think any random of the 7 fans are they going to pay $180 for a ticket? Like, I can't see paying that much money for a standard ticket at an arena like that for a subpar. Putting it nicely, a subpar team. That like
Well,
that's,
it would be visiting fans that probably would buy the
it
tickets.
probably would be.
Well, I could see
Yeah.
like if you're making a golf trip out to Arizona, you're like, oh, well, we're kind of playing kind of close to there, so why don't we just get Yotes tickets? The Leafs are in town, something like that. But
Are they going to allow like a student section?
I heard that was a rumor, but I guess we don't know because they
Wait,
don't have
for
a home
NHL
game.
game?
For NHL, they're gonna have like some teams that like Penguins did it at one point, like Student Rush.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah,
$5 or
yeah,
$10
yeah.
tickets.
But that's an arena with 18,000 seats, so they like have a few to sell.
So
Right.
what's a student section? The student section's gonna be like 13 seats.
Yeah, right. It'll
It's
be
gonna be 13 seats. Like, gosh, I don't know how they're gonna do it. It's not my problem.
Just wait 20 minutes before game time and snag up the ticket for like
Yeah.
$20.
Exactly.
yeah. The
And
student
it's-
rush tickets will be $80.
And the other, but they go to like adults.
They're making fake student IDs just to get the student price.
Where the
like,
students
yeah.
are hawking them.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like
Normal
it's like a bunch
prices.
of dudes with clear male pattern baldness with student IDs. Like, oh, you're a freshman. Yeah, I'm a business major. I just out of all the great things that Gary Bettman does, that is the one black eye for me. I can't stand the Arizona thing. I have no clue why he is so hell bent on making that a franchise that sticks there, especially after like last season with all the nonsense about, during the play-in games and COVID bubbles, they weren't giving the players a per diem, and then last year you heard all the stuff with the, they essentially just weren't paying the taxes on the building. Like what, like
Yeah.
why? And it's the same ownership group, which annoys me even more because like if you heard that stuff coming out of like the Molsons out of Montreal, which wouldn't happen, but like let's say hypothetically they weren't paying their taxes, I'm willing to bet Gary Bettman would be kind of bent.
So
That's a bad look for the league.
here's the thing. Would there be an Austin Matthews if the Coyotes were not there?
No.
Right.
And I like Austin Matthews. I'm glad, but also like, I get exactly what you're saying, and I'm not like complaining about it.
And would ASU actually be a Division I program and have built that new building without the Coyotes being there for however many years?
Yeah,
they've been
and
there
I'm
now?
sure that plays a factor. And there's a lot of talks like they're gonna do, SEC division hopefully for Division I, with all those schools, and that's like Tampa Bay Lightning and Florida Panthers.
Right.
So I get it. And then even possibly with like UCLA and USC out in California, there's always rumblings that they're gonna have one too, that's great. I think that'd be cool. So yeah, you need the Ducks and the Kings, but I just, there's always talk like Houston, for example, Houston, Texas, that could potentially support a franchise in the South, or like, I don't know. I have my own feelings about that Arizona.
There's got to be some sort of like bean counter statistic that Gary Bettman has seen, and it's like, hey, we need to keep a franchise in Arizona because of this. Like maybe
is it tax purposes, you think?
Maybe. But it could be something like there's a demographic of people here who support hockey and end up funneling kids into the programs that built hockey overall. So we need to keep a franchise out here to keep that going. It's got to be something like that. But the argument of Austin Matthews, yes, there probably wouldn't be an Austin Matthews if not for the Coyotes. But now there is an Austin Matthews. So based on the gambler's fallacy, there shouldn't be another Austin Matthews for a very, very long time coming out of Arizona, because there's already got a generational talent coming out.
It's a bigger question than just the individual. That's why I asked it. It's more about like, would there have actually been a hockey community for a kid to come out and make the NHL, let alone be that type of player?
I was more joking.
Right?
They've got a generational talent. Like, are they going to have another anytime
But you got to remember,
right.
It's not just a generational thing. Kind of what Eric's saying is like, so like, we have the Austin Matthews out of the Phoenix, Arizona area, okay? But like, how many other kids in the next, just call it 8-10 years, just take that like small little sample size, like how many of those kids are going to go play D1 or D3 or juniors?
Well,
or
the Doan kid
youth?
the Doan kid's the perfect example, because
his dad's a scumbag.
He grew up, but he grew up in the area.
Yeah.
He grew up in the area. He's playing for the local Division I program, and he's already an NHL draft pick for Arizona. But
maybe there's something there.
There's a hockey community there
on
now.
The player development side.
Yeah.
Maybe,
there's definitely something there that
he scored
is good for the NHL.
Yeah, D1.
Yeah,
which is great. That's awesome. I'm glad he scored a D1 goal. It's a D1 team, so it's fair. Not an NHL goal.
But
probably pumps in a lot of empty nets.
There's definitely something there though, long term, because obviously short term, this is a terrible look for the NHL to have a team playing in a college building. So, short term, it's a terrible look, but long term, there's got to be a payoff. So,
yeah,
I'm sure he sees something that that is invisible to the common fan who is just wanting to see a hockey game and thinks to themselves, why am I going to ASU's arena? But
I want to go there and see ASU. Like, I
don't want to go.
I don't want to go watch
Yotes.
Coyotes.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to go watch the Sun Devils.
So I have a question. Is like, I'm a Premier League guy, and we all don't mind soccer. Arsenal's at the top of the table this year so far. This is awesome. Hey,
our field correspondent has
field
to say about
Ross.
that.
Field reporter Ross.
Field reporter Ross
has
is a
just
big Chelsea guy.
He's
so
just returned. He's just returned from his trip overseas. I don't know.
Thank you guys for letting me go to London. That was amazing.
This is where your Patreon dollars are going.
Hey Ross,
turn your receipts.
Ross, when you return your receipts, make sure you send them to the field office in Omaha. We'll take
In
care of it.
Omaha? Okay.
But no, like Premier League has relegation, and we made this joke a long time ago.
Relegate the Yotes.
Like relegate them. I'm serious. Like maybe, I mean, I know it's different, but like I really, the more and more I watch, like more of like international soccer. Like, I would like to see that adopted by American sports teams more, because it would make the owners accountable. Pirates, that's you. But like, also it just like it makes things better in general.
Have you watched the championship playoff to get into the Premier League?
Yeah,
That's some
wild.
of the most exciting football soccer I've ever seen.
Exactly.
Can you imagine AHL doing that? The Bears have a chance to
Dude,
get
that
up
would be
into.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep.
I'm getting cold chills thinking about that. That'd be amazing.
That would be cool. I think we've talked about this particular subject before.
Yeah.
It's really weird based on the structure of how things already are. Like, in order to do that, it would be crazy undertaking. It would be amazing, but it would turn everything upside down.
You'd have to completely restructure how they do franchises for
Right.
all the different leagues, right? Because like in the European club sports, right, you have 3 or 4 different levels or divisions, right, that you're working your way up and down through. And so you'd have to do the same thing here. There's already, there's 3 or 4 levels or leagues that you kind of work through as you're working your way up and down as a player. But as a franchise, like, they're all separate, like, businesses almost. And,
Right.
well, really, they are separate businesses. So they'd have to, like, figure that out. It would be a complete cultural shift. Because, like, here, it's all about, like, oh, I'm a franchise owner. I pay into my franchise in this league, and so this is where this team is, and then I'm in this other league, and they're separate entities, and like between the two, we're not gonna cross, like. And
like some of the big clubs in football, soccer, they have sub franchises, so that they have a team that's just always a league lower than their main team, and they just move players between the two. So that's kind of like what the NHL is doing, but obviously it's not really. And only a handful of teams are already prepared for that. Like the Pens are ready, Toronto is ready, because their teams are currently named the same, right? Except for like Toronto's Marlies have almost the same logo. And,
well, you notice like NHL clubs in the last NHL clubs are nice in the last 10 years. There's been a massive shift to make sure their farm clubs are closer for a few reasons. Number one, emergency call-ups and whatnot, but also two, they want to have a very big hand in how that organization is not only ran, but the systems, the tactics, all that stuff intentionally. So that way, when you get the younger guys to come up, through the system, you can actually kind of go, all right, same thing we do lower level, but maybe there's a little different tweak or something, and that helps a lot of organizations in general. That's why the AHL, it's essentially moved out west now, and they have different divisions intentionally, because AHL clubs were really annoyed. They're well, who was it? LA had Manchester all the way in up north, New Hampshire. Imagine if you have an issue with a goalie in morning skate or something.
Even recently, Vancouver was affiliated with Utica.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
You got to cross a border, and it's on a different coast. So
nobody's had an Alaska farm team, have they?
ECHL, Alaska
ECHL team,
Aces, which I don't remember who.
Which they kind of have affiliates, and some of the ECHL teams are kind of affiliated.
They're either shared or straight affiliates.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're not going to link in terms of player
Wheeling is Pittsburgh, Carolina Stingrays, Caps, Solar Bears are Tampa.
Right, Orlando Solar Bears.
Orlando Solar Bears, and then
where that really comes into play is goaltenders.
Yeah, right. Moving guys up and down.
A lot of the goalies these days they're starting out in the Coast League and then working their way up and down until they finally make it.
Jonathan Quick.
Yeah.
He was an East Coast guy.
I don't know. It's interesting that we have it the way that it is. It would be really cool if it went the way that the European football leagues do, but if that's how it was for us, we'd be saying that a different system looked cool too. And
what's the Austin Powers line like? Yay, capitalism! Yay,
you're right.
Hey, John, your boy Sonny Milano.
Oh God,
signed with Washington. 1 year, $750K.
I was saying it last year. I was like, there's something weird that he is bouncing around so much, and I'm doing air quotes, very skilled. There's something there. I don't know why. Because he was in Calgary. That's a skilled team. Like, yes, it's a Daryl Sutter coach team, and they will be hard to play against. But if you look at the roster construction, they're pretty damn good. And he couldn't stick there. Anaheim didn't want him, even though his running mates was Zegras.
Is the problem that Calgary was pretty good, and that he just didn't have a slot because he's
technically
he's good,
in,
but he's
right?
not that good. Like Zegras didn't even make the roster initially in Anaheim.
Correct.
And then they figured out, oh yeah, we probably should play this kid. He's electric.
Yes.
Wait,
time
out. Who he played with was electric. He just kind of was a little bit of a conductor. He wasn't rubber or anything where he didn't have any, Well, he was able to conduct.
I'm talking about Zegras in particular. Like,
Well,
they
that's what I'm
realized
saying,
Zegras was good, and they got to play him. So they had a need for talent, and then they found some and started playing them. And maybe Sonny Milano just happened to fit in with them because who knows? Je ne sais quoi.
Who knows? I don't know, and I don't want to bag the guy too hard, but like, I find it weird that a guy that was so highly touted from his time with the national team development program or the World Junior to when he got drafted with Columbus, he's bounced around. He hasn't stuck a job. And I'm not saying like he's a horrible hockey player because he plays at the top level, obviously, but there's something there. Like maybe he's a Chris Bork, and they just keep, people keep giving him opportunities, but Chris Bork was a fantastic AHL player. Every time he was in the NHL level, he just was not 100% there.
What if he's a Pascal Dupuis and he has to play with a specific talent?
Or maybe like Pascal Dupuis, when he came out of juniors and whatnot, he played one way. Pascal Dupuis learned how to play another way.
Fair enough.
Sonny Milano may
with
not.
Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, with Sidney.
No. But what I'm saying is like Pascal Dupuis, like when he was younger, was a goal scorer. Max Talbot, like those are two guys that come to my mind immediately. Like those guys played a certain way, and then when they got to the NHL, they had to retool their game to stick at the NHL level. Not necessarily fighting or anything, but they had to go like a little more north and south, a little more meat and taters, and like. Every now and then, those guys did pop in goals, obviously. I mean, like, when you get in those situations or in, certain areas, but, like, maybe that's what Sonny Milano needs to do. Maybe he needs to, like, kind of go, like, all right, maybe I shouldn't do this all the time. Maybe if I do a little more of the easy stuff, like making sure I can become an asset to my team defensively, and then maybe talk to your coaches about getting penalty killing time. Because a guy like him who is skilled, you see teams all the time now, they're popping guys out there like McDavid, Matthews, Marner, Nylander. They want guys like that on the penalty kill because they can think at a high level offensively to either anticipate plays or they're a threat when they get the puck and it's a weird 2-on-1 or something, or a 1-on-2. Like
turns into a power kill.
Kill, exactly.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is that what if Sonny Milano, his role is to be a supporting character? So he has to play with somebody who is going to give him unique, interesting situation. Well, maybe not interesting, but unique situations where he has to do something that another player might not do or something like that. But if he's not given those, then he can't produce. If that makes sense. Zegras gave him some weird plays.
Well, okay, but also
right?
at the same point, like at the end of the day, like, all right, if he's not a Zegras, let's just say, obviously, and he's not a Rust or a Gensel, where you're doing things on the other side of the puck, essentially, to like help yourself, or even like a Backstrom, who is good in his own zone, but offensively he's very talented because he can pass. Like, Sonny Milano needs to learn how to do other things so he can stay in the lineup and stay on teams' rosters.
Yeah,
other
that's
than
a
just
fair
popping
point.
points.
That's a fair
and
point.
having like really bad hair.
I mean, everybody needs to be adaptable and be able to take on a new situation. But I guess that, like you said with Chris Bork, it didn't seem to matter what situation he was put in. You put him in the same situations that he would see in the AHL, do that for him in the end, and he still couldn't produce the same. But with Sonny Milano, perhaps it's just an extremely unique role that he needs to be in. And maybe, like you said, he can't find that in other places. And that's not good for him long term. That's probably why he's only making league minimum for a 1-year deal, because people aren't sure that they can get him to produce the same way that he once did. So, you're absolutely right that he needs to be adaptable and change his game. And if he can't, then he's not going to have a place in the league. But
yeah, because unfortunately, the NHL and hockey in general, you don't have a DH, so he can't come in.
You can't just be
with like 2
specialist.
minutes left in the third and go out there. Like he has to, and I'm not saying he deserves 20 or 22 minutes a night or even 15, but like there has to be a happy medium with a guy of his skill needs to have a top 9 role in the league.
Yeah.
I think he's wasting talent on a fourth line.
We had Rodriguez. The Penguins had Rodriguez.
Exactly.
You give him, you say, hey, take this team, let's go. And he put some goals in. You bump him back, and he's not pushed, I guess. Maybe he doesn't feel that pressure on the second or third, and he was gone.
Invisible.
But he was also just there. He was doing stuff other than scoring goals. He wasn't like...
I agree.
And I guess that's kind of where it's like weird when you talk about like those Rodriguez's and Max Talbot, like guys of those, like those dudes. Like,
so regardless of Milano's
hairstyle or skill,
perceived past and who he was playing with, he is a plus player, right? So he does drive play. I just looked the numbers up.
Yeah.
He does drive play. He absolutely drives high danger chances. And your goaltender is going to be a better than 91% save percentage when he's on the ice. So
because he's on the positive.
Right. He's definitely he's a plus player, right? So 1 year, $750K.
That's
a great, and that's what I'm saying. That's great.
Yeah.
But like where I push back on that, not in a bad way with Milano, is like if all those metrics are like in his favor, he was on a PTO in Calgary. Okay.
Yeah, but they're doing something there that they're building a new identity for that team. What, like, the whole, what's the cliche? You're building the plane while it's in flight.
Right.
That's what they're
absolutely.
doing, right? Because they're contenders right now, and at the same time, they've got Kadri in there going
Huberdeau
nuts
and Uyghur. I think they got
hasn't
better.
shown up yet. Like Uyghur has looked good, but like, and it's only been 2 or 3 games, right? But I don't think he fits into what they're trying to do there right now, because those guys, they can all skate, but they're also in your face at the same time, right? And I don't think he's that type of player, and I don't think he fits what they're trying to do. And I don't think they feel like, I'll take it even further, I don't think they feel like he would help them against Edmonton, which is really the only team that they're worried about.
Who?
Calgary.
But what player? Milano?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think like every guy on that team, and you saw it a little bit, but even last night when they played, there was like a certain pace they were playing at, but even like there was a little bit of like the Brian Burke word, which I like, truculence. Like you could tell like those guys were like, we're not being pushed off pucks, we're moving forward. And even guys like Huberdeau, where he's not known to be this big hulking guy, like he passes insanely well. And I find it interesting that Daryl Sutter before the season made a comment, oh, Huberdeau's the best passer in the entire league. That's a shot at Johnny Hockey, which I kind of thought was funny. And then the Toffoli and Matthew Tkachuk thing that he said before the season, like one guy's been a part of deep cup runs and won Stanley Cups. That's the difference. Like that's a big ricochet shot.
I just think that Milano was not going to be a part of what they're doing because he just doesn't fit what they're trying to do.
So do you think he's a Peter Laviolette guy?
I don't think anybody is. I don't really like him anyway, and I made that known anyway, right?
Yeah, you did right away. Yeah.
I don't think
even when it wasn't sure that he was going to be the coach, you're like, I don't want it.
I don't think he's right for the modern player.
He's a retread.
Yeah. I don't think he's right for the modern player. I think there were other options out there, but but I think that if you take a flyer on him for 1 year at that money, you can't lose because you're getting a very skilled player that is going to drive play when he's on the ice. If you could find the right center matchup for him, he should be okay.
Unless you take an actual flyer player, then you will lose a lot.
Well, all right, knowing the Caps lineup,
they have no redeeming quality.
They have no redeeming
Redeeming
qualities.
qualities. I heard that one time.
my only opinion is, especially of the Caps, I would almost put him with Mantha and Strome, like two really big bodies who move up the ice and that gives Milano a little bit of space. And I really like Mantha. I think he's awesome. And Strome, they got him for like nothing.
Yeah.
And Strome's a damn good player.
Yeah.
Like, so I think.
So when I saw
yeah.
the rumor, like when Friedman first said that,
Mm-hmm.
that if he clears waivers, they're going to sign him. The
Weird,
first thing
everybody else passed.
the first thing I thought of was they're gonna play him with Dylan Strome because
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
I think those two will work really well
Yeah.
together.
We'll see.
Yeah.
And maybe you even think like if Backstrom comes back too, that gives them a really strong top 6 or even like a top 9, hypothetically on paper.
Yeah, I mean,
With Wilson in the mix and Backstrom.
Yeah, I mean,
that
because
gives them a very strong
it's
top
gonna
9.
It's gonna bump some guys down and out.
Yeah.
Which would be good.
And also too, if you're like Strome, Mantha, guys like that, like especially when Backstrom and Wilson come, you're gonna be pushed. So like, wouldn't you want a good, healthy competition where your guys are like, I want to play on the goddamn power play?
Yes.
I don't like, especially a big guy like Mantha, where he's like, no, I would rather have that play over Wilson, or those two especially. I mean, that's scary if those two are on the same power play unit.
Yeah.
You could almost use those guys down by the crease. You wouldn't. I mean, they're so big, but they both have hands. That's the other thing,
they
too.
can both put it in the net.
They both put it in the net,
Yeah.
so that's like, oh, geez.
Yeah.
So
It's funny you guys are talking about Mantha. NHL 23 came out this week, and I started up my franchise mode with the fantasy draft for. I did the Penguins, and I picked Sonny Milano in like the first 5 rounds actually. And
Tell me you
Anthony
could've got him on waivers.
Mantha as well. I've actually got Mantha. He's not on waivers in the game. They need a roster update. But no, I've got Milano and Mantha on my second line. Honestly, it's kind of interesting.
That's
And Tom Wilson on my top line.
I mean, that's where they should be slotted.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it's funny because like I watched the game last night and like their third line is awful with Eller and Johansson and I don't even know who else is on that line.
Eller, I mean,
like, but then they have
they
have Dowd and Sherry and Hathaway on the fourth line.
I know,
and
they move.
They just cause trouble all over the place, and they get scoring chances. Like Sherry already has 2 goals or something, and like it's ridiculous.
See, he's a player kind of like Milano, can kind of mirror his game after. When he's not scoring, he's doing other positive things on the ice.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to necessarily be like, kind of like Eric was saying, on the positive side of the puck all the time. He's good in his own zone. Like, I'm not saying like he's like an Andrew Cogliano type guy, obviously. Like, he's not going to win a Selke anytime soon, but he's like doing the right things.
Yeah.
That's who you want.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah,
It's
Johnny.
Milano. I don't care. Guy's a bum.
Do you like anybody in that NHL?
I got a list of people I don't like right now.
Well, Beers in the Lot is also starting another list of people that we do like, and you are at the top. Thank you for your listen. We appreciate all the support we get in the form of your likes and comments and subscribes and all that. And also, we love to hear your feedback on Discord at beersinalot.com/Discord. A special thanks, though, to our Patreons and our merchandise purchasers. We recorded this episode using equipment that we purchased with money from Patreon and from our merchandise sales. That's you guys. That's you. Our in-person episodes are always better, and we're able to do them because of your support. So thank you again, and we're going to do our best to give you as many of these as we can. But that'll do it for episode 114. So until next week, see ya.